Look, closer to home, this mice plague is reaching horrific proportions. I said last week it was in Western New South Wales with these mongrel things everywhere, but this is from Toowoomba right down into Victoria. And people are very seriously at mental breaking point. Psychologists are now saying the mental health impact of statewide infestation is comparable to a natural disaster like a bushfire or a flood. Northwestern New South Wales, places like Warren, are almost 500 kilometres from Canberra, yet the mice have arrived at Canberra, places like Murrumbateman, where families who've lived there for years have said they've never seen anything like it. One family said, quote, they've moved into our studio, they've moved into our house, they've moved into our walls. Other families report mice getting into the sheets and the linen. Baits and traps are scarce. Supermarket and hardware shelves across Canberra are empty. Although people in the bush are spending thousands of dollars on mice traps and baits, many can't get a full night's sleep without waking up to the sound of mice scurrying through their homes, in their beds, in their wardrobes. Many of these people have been through drought and bushfire, but this could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. The stress from all this is awful. Worse than that, farmers have lost a fortune in prize grain. There is literally economic havoc. Warren is 120 kilometres northwest of Dubbo, normally a beautiful town on the Macquarie River. It's been the centre of all of this, but the plague is spreading. I must stress this is affecting children. One 11-year-old in Warren said he goes into their shed and there are thousands of them. The hay bales turned into mush, mice running across your feet, and there's no relief for these children in school. Warren's St Mary's Primary School has 140 children and staff. Mice have infested classrooms and the schoolyards. They set mouse traps that are constantly going off around everyone. The mice chew through pencils and books and paperwork. As I said, the bush has faced drought, flood, and now mice. People thought if they got rain, everything might be over, but there seems to be no evidence of that. Families have to change bed sheets every other day. The mice are actually in their beds. I've been through one of these plagues as a kid. It's terrifying. Xavier Martin is Vice President of the New South Wales Farmers Federation. He operates a wheat, canola and sorghum farm in Malali on the Liverpool Plains up near Gunnedah. He continues to experience the plague firsthand, and he believes there's no end to the carnage in sight. Xavier joins us. Xavier, thank you for your time. Is it as bad as it was, or are things improving?
Oh, look, there's hotspots, Alan, and good evening to you and your viewers. I only drove from Orange via Wellington, Dunedoo, Coolah yesterday, and some places you'd wonder whether there was any mice about, and in other places they were just scurrying across the road and the road was turning to fur. So there is hotspots right from the Murray to the border rivers and beyond, as you've described, and they're not going away anytime soon. Whether it's a moderate winter or a cold winter, they're still breeding flat out.
And what have been the crop losses, Xavier? I mean, for you, your neighbours, and of course you represent farmers.
Yeah, look, I've heard some extraordinary losses and abandonment. Even tonight, there's people deciding not to plant certain paddocks, parts of farms. I've even spoken to a farmer who's completely abandoned his winter crop sowing full stop because he can't see a way through to control the vermin, to control the infestation and get to harvest. And he's not the only one. I've had people who've gone out of their way to make hay with the breaking of the drought and have just seen their hay stocks just dwindle. One person I was speaking to had restacked what was left of their haystack 3 times, and what was left for a finish is nothing. It's just all gone, basically.
Farmers are telling me that the aerial baiting hasn't worked. Tremendous impact on kids. I mean, this is terrible stuff. You have an awful drought. How do you survive this economically?
Well, look, my family and I have aerial baited. We've done 5 full baitings of our farm, most of them aerial, and we've had satisfactory control. But I'm heartened that the approval authorities have allowed a double dosage, increasing concentration of the zinc phosphide, and they've allowed an application rate increase of 100%. So I think there's a reasonable acceptance that if you can afford it and you can budget to do multiple applications to get a crop through. But even tonight, I've got neighbours calling me wondering if I've got any stocks of bait that they urgently need tonight or in the morning.
Well, that's right. I mean, farmers are telling me that the wharves, there are containers on the wharves with the bait from overseas. but because of COVID, they can't get them unloaded and so on. I mean, the federal government, the Minister for Agriculture federally, David Littleproud, said there'd be no support coming from the federal government. He said, dealing with pests as an internal biosecurity matter is a state government issue. I mean, it's not very comforting for farmers.
No, look, we've as farmers, we have we have in our budget a line item for vermin, for ferals. Here we get wild pigs. We've got foxes. Today I was getting chased around by crows. I was harvesting mung beans trying to beat the mice, and I just came in literally here to speak to you, and the mice were jumping off the top of the mung bean pods as I finished. They're out there breeding flat out. It's not.
That's right, and I mean they're very sexually active. I mean, if they don't drop off in the colder months, you could have back-to-back plagues.
Yes, immediately they have a litter of 9 or 10 pups.
Yeah, I mean, they're sexually mature after 6 weeks.
Yeah, and then they fall pregnant straight away again.
And they have litters. They have the litters 3 weeks apart.
Yeah. So look, we've got an explosion. We've got a crisis. We're very pleased that the New South Wales government has recognised as a crisis, as a disaster, and they came up with some very simple responses for homeowners, for householders, and for commercial premises, which is great. And it sounded like they were going to do something sensible for agriculture too, but farmers are saying to me that what's been proposed is quite impractical and
well, it is. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's costing farmers thousands of dollars for bait, and they're getting nowhere. Then you've got the stench. I mean, in some of these properties, they're eating holes in the wall. I've been through this as a kid. The smell is unbelievable. If it's a plague and a natural disaster, I come back to my hobby horse about a national disaster fund. There should be some way of helping people in these desperate circumstances.
Well, we do pay in New South Wales a pest levy to the local land services, which occasionally they respond to plague locusts or feral pigs, but that doesn't seem to be accessible for mice.
No.
All we seem to be being offered, unbelievably, is and bromidillion tech concentrate couldn't be any further away. The other side of the world, it's in France, apparently. We haven't got an approval permit from the APVMA, and they typically take a month. And then there's talk that it'll only be for perimeter baiting, Alan. Well, I'm sorry, the mice are not lined up at the boundary fence.
No, absolutely. And there's not much research done on this. There was some completed in 1994 on the basis of a 1993 outbreak. It said that it pointed out that $67 million worth of damage for farmers then. That's way back in the 90s. That'd be well over $100 million today. Now, they say that a plague is 800 mice per 2 hectares. I mean, this is way beyond that. More than 1 billion mice. I had a farmer telling me there's been 1 billion mice through the Warren Shire alone. What's your understanding of the numbers?
Yeah, look, my appreciation of the data, talking to our New South Wales Farmers Association members, is we've already lost hundreds of millions. The challenge now is to not lose billions, to actually get this winter crop in the ground. And that's urgent. That's underway right now. And that's why we want an urgent and practical response to control these vermin.
And what would that response be, Xavier?
Well, we've been saying to government, to Minister Marshall for a while, that what we want is a system where the government reimburses up to 50% of the tax invoice cost of application of the zinc phosphide baits, up to a maximum of $25,000. So we're not leaving it uncapped.
No.
It was unfortunate the minister started talking about $700 million because obviously he hadn't done the maths on what we were putting forward. Look, it's great. It's great that the government's talking about biological control research in the future, but that's in the future. This is a here and now.
This is here and now.
We actually need.
I just had a farmer today write to me to say that insurers are refusing claims from customers who've been smashed by the plague. And as I said earlier, it's run from Toowoomba right down to the Riverina, straddling Victoria, and the havoc's enormous. The insurers say that when a claim is made, they're arguing there is a standard cover exclusion that knocks back vermin-related claims, and that crop insurance covers fire and hail, but not vermin damage. Are farmers aware of this?
Oh, look, I've had the same battle here. We've had our kitchen flooded because the dishwasher drain hose got eaten through by the mice, and we didn't realise, but it was just flooding all the water out the back of the kitchen cupboards. So, look, you're right. There's a really vexed process, insurer by insurer, as to how to deal with this.
What a
So,
mess. I mean,
look,
surely
we just want
to be insurance that covers sudden and extreme events. I mean, I thought that insurance policies did cover that. If this is not a sudden and extreme events, what is?
Oh, look, we've been building to this for 6 to 12 months, and that's what's so frustrating for our members, that government seems late to the table, but thankfully they have recognised it as a disaster, as a crisis. They just need to get a practical and functional solution in place, such as we're proposing, pronto, not in a month's time or 2 months'
time. Good on you.
Yeah, thanks.
Immediately. Good to talk to you, Xavier. Hang in there. Hang in there. We're with you in spirit. There's not much more I can do, but hopefully someone will wake up who is in government. Good to talk to you, Xavier Martin, up from Malali. I mean, you think about these people on the land. They've got no relief from this mice plague. They've chewed through home walls. They've infested schools. They've devoured harvest following lean years of drought. My old man used to say, if it's not one thing, it's another. Anyway, we'll keep you posted.